Now that everything's put together mechanically, the last part is to get power to the motors. So I'm going to use this little terminal clips here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to run wires from the back of this to the motors. So I'll split it up in half so that 2 of these will go to one motor and 2 wires go to the other motor. The wires that you got in the kit are kind of long, and what I'm going to do is I've decided to kind of shorten them up a little bit, cut them in half, and then I stripped the ends of it off with the stripping tool that I have. Again, this kind of thing that we can do at school if you don't have the stripping tool. But now I've got bare ends on the wire, so I've got the metal exposed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it through the little hole, wrap it in half, kind of like a little hook, then pinch it, and I'm going to twist my wire so it holds on nicely. Now if you have a soldering iron, you have soldering iron skills, or you have someone that can show you, you can always solder it in place, but that's certainly not needed. As long as you twist it tightly, you'll be fine. So now I'm going to set up the wires, and I'll show you what we're going to do in the last steps. Okay, we're coming to the home stretch now. Time for the wiring, last part of the wiring. I've got my motors all wired up here, and then I've got each wire going to the connectors. So I've got one wire going to each one of these little prongs. Now what I need to do is I need to mount it on the back of my robot. To mount it on the back, I'm going to put my little clips here up high, so you can kind of see how this position is done. So it's going to look something like that when I'm all done. So again, still building on my base. I'll put it on my base, and again the idea there is so that if you just put it down and you start screwing to the bottom of it, it's going to push the wheels loose. And this is true too whenever you're building any part on your car. Whenever you're adding things, don't put it on the table. Make sure you build it on the base so there's no pressure on the screw eyes on the bottom. It's probably the weakest part of the car, besides a little connection here between the little gear and the motor. So you want to try to protect those. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it in place. I'll take my scratch awl and I'm going to poke a hole here, and I'll poke another hole on the other side through there. So I'm poking these holes with the scratch awl, and that's going to be my starter hole for the screws. So I'll hold it here. I'll take the screw that's got the sharp point on it, and I'm going to put it in right here, and I'm going to screw it in. At the same time I'm holding the terminals in place with my other hand, and I'll screw it down. So that's on tight. Now I'm going to do the other side of this. Screw that in tight. Now while I'm turning these screws, I'm also pushing down a little bit. So you want to make sure your hand's not underneath this anywhere, so if the screwdriver slips, it doesn't hit you. Alright, well that's basically the car. It's all wired up. This is the base of it. It's all ready to roll. Everything's here for it. Now again, when you're building anything else on top of it for the rest of the contest, you want to make sure you don't put it all when it's directly on the table. Make sure it's on the base. Protect those wheels. You want this thing to last as long as you can. Alright, that's it. Good luck.